My phone. Allergies are bad.
You watched the Super Bowl yesterday?
Oh, yeah. No me saqué nada.
Don't hold.
No me saqué nada, pero
Ni modo.
that was a good game.
0-3, they won the good number yesterday.
5-8.
I
And
know.
5-8. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
If you can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And good morning, everybody. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
And to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Good morning, everyone. Any person may appear at court this time.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Rogelio, you want to go first?
Thank you, Sheriff. Judge, Commissioners, good morning. Rogelio Mercado from the County Extension Office. Got two very quick items. One addresses item number 17 on your agenda, which is our implementation of our burn ban in Jim Wells County, which is very much needed. The only thing I ask, as you've done in the past, to continue implementing that ban with agricultural exemptions for our producers to continue to use fire for land clearing, pasture management, and those things that they do on an annual basis. With the rains that we received during the summer, we have a lot of standing forage, which is high fuel, and it is a problem for the fires that exist at this time. So please consider those agricultural exemptions so that our agricultural producers can continue to use fire effectively on their operations. Secondly, I want to recognize Commissioner Margie Gonzalez and hopefully take a quick picture here with us. Commissioner Gonzalez participated in our county judges and commissioners conference on December 3rd of 2021. She earned 5.5 hours of continuing education. And Commissioner, we thank you for your continued support on that conference. And I highly encourage the rest of the court to try to make time on your agenda to participate in that conference. It's a one-day conference. It's in Laredo at the Embassy Suites. This coming year is going to be December 9th, 2022. It's on a Friday. So I encourage you all to participate. With that being said, could we take a real quick picture?
Sure.
All right.
Yes, we can, right? Right now? Who's gonna take the photo?
Robert, if you will.
Robert?
Can you take a picture?
Give it to Margie.
And then everybody else jump in line.
We just gotta shuffle through these things.
I
We
know,
don't
I
fit right here. It's a tight squeeze. Ahora sí. Rogelio, thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you all.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I didn't know that. She won't say.
Someone told us.
Oh, wow. Okay, all right. Sheriff, are you still on?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Just want to report to you all that we have 59 inmates, 6 females, and I have 5 females in Clayburgh County for space that we don't have here. We're paying $70 a day. They've been out there about 6 days already. Want to let you all know that we had a drug seizure and money seizure, that is, by patrolling traffic. So we picked up $70,000. One of our new officers, excellent job. We also had a $200,000 DEA case last week. We'll be receiving some of that money because of the relationship and agreement we have with DA office out of Corpus. So again, that's what we have going. Everything's within normal limits. Shouldn't have any problems. We also have 6 arrests that we made, 4 in Orange Grove on a drug deal that was going on, and 2 other arrests. We assisted the Alice Police Department with a sex investigation case of children, and that's what we have this morning.
Sheriff, thank you very much for that report.
Thank you,
Great
Sheriff.
job. Great job. Good news. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to make any comments before we proceed? Anybody else here that we have? No? Commissioners? No. All right. We're gonna move on to agenda item number 4, discuss, consider, and take action on minutes from previous meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 5, discuss, consider, and take action on offer to purchase tax sale property, suit number 0812414598B, Fremont Independent School District, City of Fremont and Jim Wells County versus Maria Elena Lozano and Magdalena Farias, account number 123-503-480000, lots 21, 22, 23, block 73, town of Fremont, Jim Wells County, Texas. We have an offer of $3,300 for the purchase of sale tax property.
I'll make a motion to accept item number 5 as presented, Judge.
I'll
Okay,
second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes and it's accepted. Agenda item number 6, discuss, consider, and take action on offer to purchase tax sale property, suit numbers 902-14636B, Fremont Independent School District, Jim Wells County and City of Fremont versus Daniel Ramirez, account number 123-50679-001, the south 75 feet of lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 block 112 original town site addition, in addition to the town of Fremont, Jim Wells County, Texas. And we have an offer's being made in the amount of $14,000 for the purchase of the property.
14,000.
14.
And how much is it?
I don't know how much is owing taxes now, but that's what the offer is.
I
So
make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes. Yeah, they have a breakdown here, but how it's gonna be broken up, it doesn't have the amount of
How
the
much does
tax.
the county get? You said?
Yeah, it's right here. Our portion, 11,000, and we'll receive the $3,463.18, and it's broken down into.
The different taxes.
Okay. Agenda item number 7, discuss, consider, and take action on offer to purchase tax sale property, suit number 1003-14987B, Jim Wells County and La Gloria Independent School District versus Joe Suvia and William T. Suvia, account number 11-560-326-000, 5 acres more or less, being lot 31, section 15, R.P. Huddleman's subdivision of the Seligson Ranch, Jim Wells County, Texas. And we have an offer.
Motion to approve.
A motion on the floor, okay,
Is it announced?
that's good. The offer is $3,850. That's what the amount is.
How much goes back to the county?
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved, $854.31. It's broken down. Each entity that gets it, La Gloria ISD gets $1,536. Jim Wells County gets $854.31, and the Brush Country $6.74. So that's how it's broken down. Each entity. Pretty good. Some of these, to get them back on the tax rolls. We still have a lot more. Okay, here we go. Agenda item number 8. Okay, discuss, consider, and take action on offer to purchase tax sale property, suit number 1303-15985B, Jim Wells County, La Gloria Independent School District, and Brush County Groundwater Conservation District versus Robert O. Metzner and Avery Kibble Ranches LTD and OA Metzner. Account number 1156-0333-000, 5 acres more or less, being lot of 55, section 15 RP Edelman's subdivision of Seligson Ranch, Jim Wells County, Texas. And we have an offer in the amount of $4,250. $4,250.
Make a motion to approve item number 8 presented, Judge.
I have a motion on the floor
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes. You want to know the amounts? The amounts for Jim Wells County is $855.70. La Gloria is $1,598.78. And the CED, $61.70. And the Brush County groundwater, $10.82. Okay. Agenda item number 9, discuss, consider, and take action on offer to purchase tax sale property, suit number 10-03-14986B, Jim Wells County and La Gloria Independent School District versus Colleen Joan Krogan and William Krogan, account number 11560143000, 5 lots, 8493 RP Hedelman subdivision in Seligson Ranch, Jim Wells County, Texas. And the amount is $5,600 for the purchase.
Make a motion to approve item number 9 as presented, Judge.
Okay, have a motion on the floor. Second. The second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes, and La Gloria ISD gets $2,718.63. And Jim Wells County gets $1,476.77. Brush Country Groundwater Conservation, $19.59. Agenda item number 10, discuss, consider, and take action on request from County Extension AgriLife Department, Rogelio Mercado, to transfer funds from line item 12-665-310, office supplies, to line item 12-10 or 12-665-573, equipment, in the amount of $312.56.
Judge, Commissioners Court, I have looked over the request and it is a good request. Thank you.
Make a
Thank
motion
you,
to
sir.
accept item number
Okay, I have a
10
motion
as
on the
presented,
floor.
Judge.
I second the motion.
The second, all those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Agenda item number 11, discuss, consider, and take action on the lease purchase of 8 new vehicles from Sillisby Fleet Group using the Goodbye Purchasing Agreement and utilizing government capital to fund the purchase with payments made through Forfeiture Fund 53 to begin in 2023.
Yes, sir, Judge and Commissioners, we're being proactive in ordering because of the production problem that this country's having. So we want to start doing this, and of course, it'll be taken care of by Chapter 59 and Fund 53.
Got it, sir.
What kind of vehicles are they, Sheriff?
It's going to be for Patrol and Traffic Division and Criminal Investigation, and of course, a transport vehicle for our transportation of prisoners. And again, because of the transportation, we have to have a good vehicle because we're getting paid $4,500 by Plains MHMR for every transfer that we make, or a monthly payment of $4,500. So that's the agreement that we have with Plains MHMR.
Sheriff, what type of vehicle?
They're going to be Tahoes,
Okay. thank you.
Commissioner, and one truck.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes.
On the
Okay.
note of the MHMR from Plains, we're also receiving $800 starting March 1st to utilize one of our offices here at the Sheriff's Office 2 times a month for $800. So that's plus the $4,500 that we already get.
Great job.
Awesome.
It's good.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Judge.
Sir, thank you all. Discuss, consider, and take action to approve request from Constable Precinct 3 Jim Long to submit an application for grant 443-2301 offered through the Office of the Governor's Criminal Justice Grant Program and authorizing County Judge Juan Rodriguez Jr. to execute the required application resolution.
Can y'all hear me? I'm on a phone this morning.
Yes, Constable, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. The resolution's attached to this. It's a no matching fund for a license plate recognition camera to be mounted on a patrol vehicle. The resolution is mandated to be attached to this,
Okay, I'll get back.
I guess, application for the grant.
I'll get back to you.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and all those opposed? Motion
Judge,
carries.
on item number 12, number 12,
Go
that
back.
you all gonna review.
We're going back.
Oh, okay, good.
Go back to item number 12, Sheriff, skipped over it. Agenda item number 12, discuss, consider, and take action on the resolution to purchase 8 vehicles from government capital to begin payments using forfeiture funds in 2023. And do we have a resolution that I'm gonna read out? Do we have a motion to accept this resolution?
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. A resolution regarding a financing agreement for the purpose of procuring vehicles and related equipment, whereas Jimos County desires to enter into a certain financing agreement by and between Government Capital Corporation and Jimos County for the purpose of procuring vehicles and related equipment. The county desires to designate an agreement as a qualified tax exempt obligation of the county for the purposes of section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. The county desires to designate the county judge as an authorized signer of the agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Court of Jimos County, Section 1, that Jimos County enters into a financing agreement with Government Capital Corporation for the purpose of procuring vehicles and related equipment. Section 2, that the financing agreement by and between Jimos County and Government Capital Corporation is designated by Jimos County as a qualified tax exempt obligation for the purposes of Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Section 3, that Jimos County designates the county judge as authorized signer of the financing agreement by and between Jimos County and Government Capital Corporation. Section 4, that should the need arise, if applicable, the county will use loan proceeds for reimbursement of expenditures related to the property within the meaning of Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 as promulgated under the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. This resolution has been passed upon motion made by Commissioners Court and seconded by Commissioners Court. I guess we'll fill in the ones that made the motion on this day. Alrighty. Thank you, Sheriff. I think you got everything in order, right? You still on?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Judge. Sheriff.
Okay. Agenda item number 14, discuss and consider and take action to approve for District Attorney Carlos Omar Garcia to present resolution for grant number 4500901, fiscal year 23 Criminal Justice Program.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners. This would be a new grant. The last few times we've had some grants come up, I've been trying to get what I call a training program that would be more of a multidisciplinary training, that we would bring trainers into our jurisdiction that would concentrate not just on law enforcement, but law enforcement, our JPs, magistrates, prosecutors. Basically, the areas we're looking at are the juvenile justice system, and we're really looking at the training on protective orders and emergency protective orders. You know, in visiting with some of the JPs and visiting with the county attorney, one of the issues I think we've been seeing is a lot of times, you know, judges go to their judges' schools, law enforcement go to theirs, prosecutors go to ours, you know, the probation departments go to, and everybody gets the same training, but with a different perspective. And so then we come down to our areas, and one of the issues is, well, I couldn't do my part on, for example, an emergency protective order because I didn't get enough to make my decision as a JP. But then law enforcement is, well, where was I supposed to put that? You know, we're being told at our classes that, well, that's the JPs, you know, we're not supposed to be getting into their lane. And one of the things that we've found in some other jurisdictions that have helped is they've kind of taken a multidisciplinary approach to getting everybody on the same page. And so that's what we're trying to do. This one is a no match grant if we were to get it. The training we came up with some estimates, about $26,000, because we would do quarterly trainings so that we could get, different officers, different JPs at different times. And hopefully, within the 12-month period of doing these trainings, we could get more than half of our individuals in our jurisdiction to attend these trainings. So like I said, there is a no match on this one. So we are asking that resolution be granted so that we can go forward. I've already submitted everything. This is the only thing that we're lacking uploading.
It's a good thing. Okay. Thank you. Carlos?
I make a motion to approve item number 14 as presented, Judge.
Right.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to read the resolution? I have a blank
great.
copy here that I can put on the record. Just,
That'd be great.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Resolution submission of fiscal year 23 Criminal Justice Program Grant Number 4500901. Whereas the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court finds it is in the best interest of the citizens of Jim Wells County that the fiscal year 23 Criminal Justice Program Grant Number 4500901 be operated for the October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023 term. And whereas the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of Office of Governor Criminal Justice Division funds, said funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division in full. And whereas the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court designates the 79th Judicial District Attorney as the grantee's authorized official, and the authorized official is hereby given the authority to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of Jim Wells County. Now therefore be it resolved that Jim Wells County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for fiscal year 23 Criminal Justice Program Grant Number 4500901 to the Office of Governor Criminal Justice Division, passed and approved this day in February, and then signed by those approving of such.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Was that the end of the resolution there?
I make a motion to approve.
I think we did. Did we approve it already?
Yeah, we already approved it.
But it has to.
I'm gonna go ahead into the next item. You have another grant that you're submitting, so I'm gonna go on to the next one. Because it looked like that it was both, but it's a separate action item. So agenda item number 15, discuss and consider, take action to approve the district attorney, Carlos Omar Garcia, to present resolution for grant number 3876204, fiscal year 23 Victims Assistance General Victim Assistance Direct Services Program.
Yes, thank you.
Sir.
This grant is actually a continuing grant. We're currently in the third year of this grant, and so this would be requesting to have a fourth year on this grant. Currently, it pays for 2 employees that deal with providing direct services for crime victims. The budget on this one is $139,565. That's the total budget. The Office of the Governor funds would be $111,652, because this one does have a 20% match, and the 20% match of $27,913 would come from asset forfeiture from my office, and actually from things that the county is already providing. We're providing space, we're providing some of the things of postage, things that we're keeping track of that to utilize that as part of the match. And this one, as I said, it mainly covers 2. The other expenses involved are dealing with travel and equipment, but 90%, 95% of what's used in this is for the personnel.
Very good. That's great. You do a good job of
I make a motion to approve.
self-sufficient. I have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, and I can put that on the record as well.
Please do. Yes, sir.
Okay, resolution submission of fiscal year 23 Victim Assistance General Victim Assistance Direct Services Program Grant Number 3876204. Whereas the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court finds it's in the best interest of the citizens of Jim Wells County that the fiscal year 23 Victim Assistance General Victim Assistance Direct Service Program Grant Number 3876204 be operated for the October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2023 term, and whereas the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of Office of Governor Criminal Justice Division funds, said funds will be returned to the Office of Governor Criminal Justice Division in full, and whereas the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court designates the 79th Judicial District Attorney as the grantee's authorized official, and the authorized official is hereby given the authority to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of Jim Wells County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Jim Wells County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for fiscal year 23 Victim Assistance General Victim Assistance Direct Services Program Grant Number 3876204 to the Office of Governor Criminal Justice Division, passed and approved this day of February in 2022, and signature lines for those who approved.
Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 16, presentation of racial profiling statistics for Jim Wells County Constable Precinct 1, Constable Albert Martinez, as mandated by TCLO.
Doesn't seem to be on. Not on.
It's just a presentation. We can go back to it if he gets back onto it here. Agenda item number 17, discuss, consider, and take action to adopt a burn ban for Jim Wells County effective immediately. Texas Local Government Code 352081.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Juan.
So I've spoken with the fire chiefs over the entire area, and all of them are seeing increased fire activity over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, with the last freeze that we had, everything is dry. We've had some pretty decent winds, and this week we're going to have more winds. So we do have some moderate and severe drought for the northern parts of the county. Southern parts are not doing as bad, but obviously still dry. And there's not a whole lot of rainfall in the forecast. We're just shy of the 500 KBDI needed to be recognized by the Texas Forest Service as officially in drought. But as I mentioned, the U.S. Drought Monitor does have northern sections of the Jim Wells County area in moderate to severe. So with the additional activity, fire activity that we've seen, all of our fire officials have pretty much have been either aiding or battling their own fires within their respective precincts and boundaries. So all of them are in favor of having a burn ban adopted. I myself officially go on the record saying that I would recommend putting a burn ban in Jim Wells County for at least 90 days as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Acuna.
Judge, if I may, since, just to add a little bit to it, since the 17th of January, the Sheriff's Department reported to me that as of Friday, they had 28 fires within the county.
Right.
And it's really gotten out of hand. We had a major one in Palito Blanco and then another one here in Benbolt. So I totally agree with this. I think it's needed. And it's a reminder that there is exceptions for the farmers and ranchers. So please contact either your county commissioner or your judge and we can get authorization for it.
I make a motion to approve.
But one other thing, Judge, Commissioners, Mr. Acuna, are you still on?
Yes, sir.
There were two forms that we've used in the last 3 years. One of them is 3 pages long and one is 1 page. The one that's 3 pages long is a little more specific when it deals with the farming and ranching exemptions. Did you have a chance to look, and which form do you recommend we use?
I would rather use the longer version for those exemptions. So that way, if anyone
Okay.
presents it, it's stipulated in that form.
Okay, very good. That would, I agree. And so we'll just make sure Linda uses that form
Yes, sir.
rather than the short one. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner, so yeah, those exemptions are gonna carry over anyway for farmers and ranchers.
Michael, can you email us that form, please?
Yes, sir. I'll do it right now.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'll make a motion to approve item.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a
Oh,
second.
all right, I'm sorry, second, Margie.
Margie made a motion, we have a second?
We just-
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. There we go. Agenda item number 18, discuss, consider, and take action on approval and amendment of the JAP Engineering proposal contract for professional engineering services for the Jim Wells County Tecolote Recreational Park Trails Grant RT 15012 improvements.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you have before you some documents regarding our request to submit a contract to the county on behalf of JAP Engineering. And Mr. Juan Pimentel, I believe, will also join us in a little while, and he will answer any questions regarding the contract. On March 12th of 2018, Jim Wells County was awarded a Texas Parks and Wildlife Recreational Trails Program grant for construction and renovation of 0.33 miles of recreational trail, signage, playground equipment, fencing, restrooms, exercise stations, resource surveys, and engineering services at the Tecolote Trails for a total project cost of $65,680. Texas Parks and Wildlife will reimburse the county for 80% of that total project cost, and that amount is $52,544. The county has the difference, the 20% match. You should have those documents attached to your agenda items.
Which will be done in kind.
Yes. Requests for qualifications for the engineering, architectural, and survey services were requested on October 19th, 2021 for Jim Wells County. And on November 29th, Jim Wells County awarded a contract for engineering services to Juan Pimentel, JAP Engineering, for construction and project implementation of the Tecolote Recreational Trails Grant. And we are submitting an amendment to Texas Parks and Wildlife, a budget amendment to Texas Parks and Wildlife for consideration and approval to reflect cost of professional engineering services to the changes in the scope of services have changed in order for us to complete the project. The engineering services in the amount of $36,800 will be paid from Texas Parks and Wildlife, 12% of that, which will total $24,900 to be paid from Texas Parks and Wildlife. That's the 12% construction engineering that they allow. The remaining fees will be from Jim Wells County funds in the amount of $11,900. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Juan Pimentel to go over his proposed contract and then address any questions the county commissioners courts may have.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
If y'all have any questions, Judge and Commissioners, regarding
Yeah,
the
I have a
contract?
question.
Yes,
Was
sir.
this the same one that we approved here a while back and I questioned whether there was gonna be any more increases to the taxpayers? And the answer was no. And is this increase of $11,000 coming out of that? We're paying for it?
This is there's been a change in the scope of services to complete the project. And that's we'll go over those changes in the next agenda
I remember
item.
making the comment, I'm trying to find it in my notes here and I can't find it, but I remember asking in my comments, and that that it was, 30, I believe it was 33,000, was it, the engineering?
And
Fees?
it can come out
And then
of
you
the
mentioned,
American
Margie.
Rescue Act.
Yes, we can cover it under,
Okay, so
it's
it
an
can't come out
eligible
of,
cost.
not taxpayers.
It can come out of the
Okay.
American.
It can, it can certainly be used for, under the American Rescue Fund. Some of, again, these are specifically for engineering services because the scope of the project has changed. And we're going to discuss that in the next agenda item. This pertains, because of those changes in scope of services, the engineering contract that was approved on, I believe, November 29th,
Ms. Moran,
and was
that's
awarded.
the question that I had was that day was, are there gonna be any more changes that are gonna come
Yeah.
about? And they said, no. Now we're coming back, and if, I feel like, well, I asked the question, they said I was told no. Now they're telling me different.
Yeah,
So that's where I have an issue, as long as it's not coming from taxpayer dollars.
yeah. And I can just say I wasn't at this November 29th meeting when this agenda was considered, so I'm not familiar with the comments that were made at that time. But I can tell you, Commissioner, that we'll certainly look at other funding sources such as under the American Rescue Plan Act. But, you know, these cannot be, these are the engineering services. 12% of that will be covered under the Parks Grant. But the other 20%, we can certainly look at other funding sources so that we don't address, you know,
Get it from the general fund.
use the general fund to pay for these costs. But, you know, this park grant, the scope had to change. There was some things that in discussion with the
Parks and Wildlife.
Texas Parks and Wildlife. And this is something that we'll cover again in the next agenda item. So if we could specifically address any questions on the contract itself, you know, we can certainly then move on unless you all have any questions about Mr. Pimentel's contract specifically. Juan, is there anything in particular that you'd like to draw attention to in terms of the contract itself and why it changed
I think,
from 29th, November 29th meeting?
yes, commissioners and judge, I think, like Yolanda said, we added so there's some additional items added to the scope and where it had to modify the total amount.
Gonna make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed?
All right,
One opposition, so motion passes. For the record there. Okay, Ms. Moran, thank you for that presentation. Now we'll go on to, let's see. The next grant is discuss and consider and take action on authorizing Jimos County to submit a request for budget amendment and request for extension for project completion of the Jimos County Tecolote Recreational Park Trails Grant RT 15012 improvements.
Yes, Judge. You have attached to this agenda item documentation that includes the budget amendment. And the budget amendment is being submitted to Texas Parks and Wildlife for consideration. Again, the scope of the project has changed. And on March 12th, Jimos County was awarded, March 12th of 2018, the county was awarded a Texas Parks and Wildlife Recreational Trails Grant. And some of the eligible activities that were listed included playground equipment. For some reason, Texas Parks and Wildlife, in discussion with them, did not, when they awarded this grant, they didn't realize that they had included playground equipment. Playground equipment is not an eligible cost. We do have in here restrooms, but they did not include a water well when the project was submitted for a grant consideration. So in talking to the Texas Parks and Wildlife personnel, they suggested that we changed the scope of services to include the water well. And if you'll notice, and Mr. Pimentel will cover the budget items, but it's included in there, but we're asking that Texas Parks and Wildlife cover that expense. Because the scope changed, it also includes a parking lot. The parking lot has to be in compliance with the ADA, handicap accessibility. These designs have to be approved through the Texas Department of Regulatory Services. So in order for them to approve this, we have to show in those designs that we also have a parking lot that will meet those handicap accessibilities. So initially the total project, when the grant was initially submitted, was for 65,680. It did not include the water well and it did not include the parking lot. So of course, the scope of services have changed. And it doesn't reflect the preliminary cost estimates for the parking lot and the water well. And of course, it does include some of the other amenities that are listed here. We have submitted a budget amendment to reflect what is actually the total project cost to complete this project. Now, the total cost is $205,720, which includes all these additional improvements. If approved, Texas Parks and Wildlife will reimburse Jim Wells County for 80% of that cost. And the cost would be $147,349. That would be the 80% paid by Texas Parks and Wildlife. The 20% sponsor match would be $53,371, and that will be paid through in-kind contributions, force account, in-house labor. We would be providing materials, equipment, and there may be a portion of the county's appropriations, perhaps for something that we actually do have to go out and contract and go for bids that we couldn't do in kind. So this project period is from March 12th, 2018 through 6/30/22. And so because that is such a short time frame in discussion with the Texas Parks and Wildlife, they have indicated that they would consider extending it for an additional 6 months. So we're also asking that the county consider an extension with a completion date of December 31st, 2022. Now, I'd like to point out that when I started reviewing this grant, I noticed that some of the delay and some of this Texas Parks and Wildlife also, we noticed that this grant for approval didn't come in until March of 2018. So I know the commissioner has been working very hard to address some of these issues that Texas Parks and Wildlife, for whatever reasons, and then COVID came in. So there was a lot of delays in getting this going. We are caught up with our quarterly reports. We are now have received notice from Texas Parks and Wildlife that we can start submitting for reimbursements. This is a reimbursement grant. Therefore, payment has to come from Jim Wells County, or we have to show our in-kind before we can get reimbursed for any costs, as are most grants. Most grants are reimbursement grants. So at this point, if
Brian,
there's
you said
any.
It started in 3/12/2018 to what's the deadline?
The project period originally is from 3/12/2018 to June 30th of 2022. We're asking for an extension completion date for December 31st. As you can see, it wasn't until November that the engineer was approved, and then we had the holidays, we've had the pandemic. So
all the time that we wasted also was because we had gone out to get TAMUK engineering program to do the engineering, so we wouldn't have to pay for it. And because of the COVID, they started preliminary drawings and stuff, but they never finished. So they just turned in what they had done, and That's why we had to.
And to add that, Commissioner Gonzalez, that's another reason why we actually had to come on board with hiring an engineer, because the designs, Commissioner Margie Gonzalez utilized the engineering department to save the county money, used the engineering department. However, the designs, they are not certified. They have to be sealed by an engineer, and then TDLR has to review them. And the engineering department at Texas A&M Kingsville could not do that. So in order for us to get this project approved and reimbursed by Texas Parks and Wildlife, we had to have an engineer on board. This Commissioners Court on November 29th awarded the contract to Mr. Juan Pimentel Engineering. So Mr. Pimentel, if you can go over the budget and kind of discuss what perhaps will be things that will be paid, will have to be paid using, a cash monetary, and then everything else that we're looking at doing as far as in kind. We've broken it up. If you have your budget sheet here, one other comment I'd like to make is the cost that's associated here with the changes and everything. I reviewed some of the grants that were submitted to Texas Parks and Wildlife by other counties and cities. Most of these small trail grants are at about 200,000. If you're going to include all the requirements that are needed in order to meet the ADA, Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So it's not uncommon to see this type of budget in a grant for a Texas trail grants parks, small park. Okay, Mr. Pimentel, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, good morning again. Yolanda, because Yolanda was saying the majority of the work that's going to be in kind is going to be the walking and jogging trail, which is about 0.3. It's got to be a 0.33 miles worth of walking and jogging trail. The parking lot is also going to be part of the in-kind work, which is just going to be cost. It's just going to be material for the county. The one that's going to be a major, I say major, but that's going to be full cost is going to be the restrooms and the water well, and then any utilities that need to be connected to the restrooms and to the water well, and then some site grading that can be done by in-kind by the county. There's some exercise equipment that there's 2 of them that are going to be in place. My understanding is that the pads for the exercise equipment can be done also by the county, and the installation of the equipment can be done by the county too. But just the equipment themselves would have to be bought out or paid for. And then you have some benches along so that way people can sit down, and also some signage to allow the people that are doing the walking, they can know how many miles they're walking. I don't know if I can share my screen. I do have an exhibit if y'all would like for me to share the screen with y'all. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Let me try and see if I can share a screen. I don't think my computer is allowing me to share a screen.
While he's doing that, I'd like to point out, if you do, and I'm referencing the budget, it's been divided to, give y'all more of a accurate view of what will be paid, what items, line items here, we're going to use the 20% match as, and then what we're asking the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant to pay for. And if you'll note, we're asking them to pay the 20,000. Again, these are preliminary cost estimates. It could be less. And we're asking for the grant to pay the water well. We're asking for the grant. We're estimating 45,000 for the restrooms. We're asking for those funds to be paid from the grant itself. And then there's on the sponsor costs, column, we've broken it down to the cost estimates, but some of this, mostly the trail improvements are going to be done in kind, which through force account or in kind labor, donations and what have you.
How old are these prices, Ms. Ryan?
These cost estimates are new.
They just got 'em.
Yeah, we just did this. That's
Looking
why
at the
we're
water
here.
well, 20,000 for a water well seems a little cheap, no?
No, actually, we had gotten a.
We
contract.
actually got some,
The highest was 18.
Oh, okay.
back, yeah.
Thought it was a little bit more.
Yeah, and this were several years ago when the grant was
That's
submitted.
another thing, because
what I
it's an old grant.
Yeah.
We had costs from way back when.
So I was asking,
The way
'cause-
Yeah,
everything-
and some of these
The
cost
prices seem kinda
estimates
cheap
have
there.
gone up because again, there was a delay back and forth with what Texas Parks and Wildlife completing the actual award, the actual agreement, and then also with the pandemic. So some of these costs have changed and therefore
It's changed across the board. even
we've
with-
had to come back to the county after, the county awarded the contract to the engineer. He looked at the scope of services, and we realized that the scope had to change in order for us to meet the requirements of what is required in order to complete the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant.
All you're doing is submitting, at some point, we can reject.
Right.
So, you want to make a motion,
I make a motion to approve.
second?
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah, and again, this is just, we're having to submit it for approval. It may be rejected or it may be modified on their end, so we will come back to the county and keep you all informed as to what is.
Ma'am, thank you very much, Ms. Moran.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Pimentel.
Thank you, Mr. Pimentel.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing. It just takes a little time. And with all the bureaucracy involved, it just drags out more and more. The cost, because of that, it's costing all the other programs too, all these previous programs that are in there, the cost estimates have changed a lot. Okay, we gotta go to the next agenda item, which
Yes,
is the
sir.
tire cleanup. Agenda item number 20, discuss, consider, and take action to discuss grant award from the Coastal Bend Council of Governments Regional Solid Waste Programs for tire cleanup events in Chimos County.
Yes, Judge and Commissioners, Jimos County submitted for a solid waste grant for a tire cleanup event. And the county has received the award. We initially submitted for $24,000. And then when the contract, our proposal was being considered, it was brought to those that had submitted, all the counties and entities that submitted grants, that there was only $32,000 to award. So unfortunately, they couldn't award us our full funding, but we did receive the most monies from all the other entities that did receive funds. We received the most and we scored really well. So they gave us the most funds.
Good, weren't you right? That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's so, what I wanted to do was just bring y'all up to date about the award, and attached to your documents is the amounts of money that were awarded, 8,630. And if you look at the number 7, line item number 7, under contractual, most of this money will go to the rental of your tire containers, your roll-off containers, and your disposal fees. And it is showing that we will do 6 cleanups within each of the precincts, a total of 6. A total, yes, sir, I'm sorry, a total of 6. And so I will meet with each of the commissioners to get a date. We would like to look at doing this in conjunction with Keep Texas Beautiful, Don't Mess with Texas, which starts in March and goes through April. But we can certainly look at doing something sooner as well. It does require that we do advertisement, that we submit a flyer to the COG for their approval. So we will be advertising this. The other thing is the city of Alice has submitted a letter of support on their behalf, and they're willing to work with us. I met with the city manager and Mr. Robert Guerra and they are ready to work with us. They will provide manpower and equipment for the areas that will be, which will be precinct, Margie Gonzalez's precinct and Commissioner Ventura Garcia's precinct. They will provide manpower and equipment to help,
The roll-offs.
and the containers, the roll-offs. So we will be meeting with each of the commissioners and get a date and get that going. We will meet with Commissioner Huicho Gonzalez. He will have some cleanups, and we will get some dates and locations for his cleanups. The city of Fremont has also is willing to offer manpower and resources, as well as in Commissioner Renee Chapa's precinct. The city of Orange Grove submitted a letter of support, and they're going to also provide manpower and equipment. And then we got a letter of support from the school districts, and they were going to provide volunteers as far as their students. So it's a big production, and we're going to get it going, and we look forward to, the volunteers and everyone working together. And I just wanted to give y'all an update on where we're at with this grant.
Thank you very much, as well.
Very much.
That's a good one right there. Definitely needed.
I was gonna mention
Yes, go
also that in the Tecolote grant, the city is also going to assist us with the
Good.
clean out of the septic tank.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The city
We'll
of
save that, the
Alice?
City of Alice.
Okay.
We have that. They're gonna keep that.
That's good.
All right,
Yeah.
that's great cooperation. Let's see, do we have to move on this motion, right, to accept, or did we get that grant award already?
No, this was just an
here.
update
Okay,
and to let you all know that we were awarded a grant, and we're
Excellent.
getting ready to kick it off.
okay, sounds
In
great.
each of
Thank
the
you, Ms. Moran,
precincts.
for that.
Yes, sir.
update. And now we move on to the presentation of American Rescue Plan, right?
Yes.
Agenda item number 21, presentation on American Rescue Plan Act, interim final rules, and update on the status of Jimos County community participation events.
Yes, Judge and Commissioners, I'm here today to give you an update on the final rule that has been approved by the U.S. Treasury Department. During the times that I've been up here and talked to you, we've discussed what we call the interim rules. And because through participation and comments from different cities and counties, the final rule now takes effect April of 2022. And so I have a PowerPoint. I'm not going to go through it all. I'm just going to cover some of the significant rule changes that have taken into effect. And one of the most significant is that the county can choose to take advantage of the rule's new flexibilities and that's included in here, and it kind of simplifies the program as well. And it does in areas of replacing lost revenue, and we're going to cover that in a few minutes. So I'm going to go over the key highlights. The rule goes into effect April 1st of 2022, but we can start taking advantage of some of the new rule changes, and there are some there that the county might want to consider. So we don't have to wait till April 1st to take advantage of some of these changes. And one of the most significant one is that it allows counties to use up to 10 million of their American Rescue Funds as lost revenue for the provision of general government services without needing to use the Treasury revenue loss formula. If you recall, in the interim rules, there was this very long and complicated formula that needed to be used in order for the county to determine lost revenue. Now, counties can take, any county that has up to 10 million or less can take all of that and put it into their general fund and use it for what we call general fund services, government services. And I'll go into a little more detail on one of the next slides. It also improves, I'm sorry, if you can go back up. It improves the loss calculation, the formula that was so complicated. For those that still want to use that formula, they can now use utility revenue, liquor store sales. That's also an option. If those that have over 10 million funds that they receive, they can include some of these revenue in the interim, they couldn't use those funds. It also clarifies funds for what we call capital expenditures, and I'm going to go into more details of what qualifies as capital expenditures. And then presumes that certain populations were impacted and disproportionately impacted and are eligible to receive a broad range of services and support. And that was changed in order to minimize the administrative burden on counties to prove, well, what portions of our population were disproportionately impacted. You know, we would have to identify certain census tracts. Now they've totally made it where we can just say this population was impacted, and we don't have to go through any qualified census tracts. It also streamlines if the county were to choose to do premium pay. It broadens the share of how other eligible workers. In the past, there was only certain workers that could use the premium pay. The county could only designate certain workers. Now it's made it even broader, and it's included even more eligible workers should the county choose premium pay. It also authorizes hiring of local government staff, either at or above pre-pandemic level. If you were to hire authorize rehiring local staff, you could bring them in even at a higher level using the ARPA funds. In the past, it had to be at a certain pay. So that's changed. Also, allows recovery funds to be used for the modernization of cybersecurity. And what that is, it now includes hardware and software to be used. It didn't include that. So we could also consider that as eligible expenses. And it also now broadens, and this is an important one.
Miranda, does that include, can you, for instance, that money's retroactively on ongoing, for instance, cybersecurity and all that technology, all the expenditures that we've made, you know, future payments and settlements, that can all be used towards that?
I believe that you can, sir, it can go back to cover those expenses under your lost revenue.
We have outstanding, right, Robert? Anything, those big bills, they can go towards that, and that would save taxpayers in the general fund, yeah.
So number 9, it now broadens the eligible use of funds for water and sewer projects to include culvert repairs, dam, and reservoir rehabs. Those categories were not there in the interim rule. So now they've added culverts, dams, and reservoirs, and we can use monies to rehab those. So that's a really important one, I believe. And then, of course, broadband infrastructure investments we can do to ensure that we have better connectivity to a larger population out there if we wanted to expand the
That's something
broadband.
here that we need to go out for bids on and get some input. We've been reached out and they've reached out other companies that are doing the broadband in other regional areas. So that's going to be huge. We need to get some
Yes,
numbers
sir.
on that.
I believe, Judge, you and I have talked about reaching out to VTX and
That's
working
a
with
good thing to do
VTX.
that,
I know
so-
you've asked that, so that's in the works to get a meeting going with VTX and the judge to talk about.
The thing is, now that these new rules, now we know for sure what we can
Yes, sir.
use it in.
Yes, so go to the next slide, the next one. I'm going to go through some of these really quick. Go. So we will, okay, here's the key new features on the lost revenue that I talked about. So we can allocate up to 10 million. In our case, we got 7.8 million. So we could totally just take the full amount and allocate it to spend on what we call government services. And, you know, if cities and counties still want to calculate that they lost more than the 10 million, they can certainly use that formula. And it's been made a little easier to work with, but in this instance, the county could take the whole 7.8 million and put it into the general fund. So it simplifies the recording requirements for using the standard 10 million allowance. And so the next slide. So what the recovery funds used to replace the revenue loss are more flexible and can be used for a broad range of government services, programs, and projects outside of your typical eligible use of recovery funds under this rule, under this final rule. And of course, there are some ineligible costs. We can't put it in a rainy day fund or use it for debt, to pay debt service. So those are some restrictions, but some of the examples that you could use it for would be constructions of schools and hospitals, road building and maintenance.
So they changed the road building now?
Yeah, yeah. So,
They should have done that at the beginning. I don't
yeah,
know.
and so that's why I'm coming back to y'all to explain, this is the final rule now. And we can, even though it takes effect in April, we can certainly start taking advantage of it now. So
The
road
thing
building.
is, Ms. Moran, there's a
sir.
lot of people that are just anxious to get, and
Yeah.
I'm glad we slowed it down, wait for these rules changes, because a lot of folks have the idea that they need to jump on it right away, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
with this,
Yeah.
now, for instance, the road, we can assist some of the precincts with some of the road
Well, I
construction.
think one of the things we did was by getting the committee involved,
Yeah.
slowing it down, getting
Yeah.
everybody's input.
Yeah.
A lot of people jumped into it and we just, now changes are coming
Yeah,
about, so.
the changes have come out on the final rule.
Over-
So the Commissioners Court was really strategic about how they want to spend their money and how they wanted to get input. So you could use it for general government administration to cover staff and administrative facilities, environmental remediation, police, first responder, and other public safety services, including the purchase of fire trucks and police vehicles. I know we talked about, you could bring in, because of the pandemic, some of the courts, they had to, slow down, or now you can, hire additional staffing in your courts to address, bringing back and getting the court systems moving again. So all of those are eligible projects. Next slide, please. So the key takeaway here is, of course, we can use up to 10 million. We can use it all, or we can go into calculating that using that formula. Next slide, please. Let's see. Next slide. Okay, here under public health and negative economic impacts, if you'll see in the red, the key new features in this rule is it clarifies how to designate an impacted industry. In the past, we talked about impacted industry just being the tourism, the restaurants, hotels. Now it pretty much allows the eligible use of the county designating what is an impacted industry. It could be a business. They have to have X amount of employees, however, but you could designate industries that were impacted as well, not necessarily just those in the travel or tourism. Let's see, under capital expenditures, of course, the eligible projects have to be something that we're responding to the pandemic or bringing it back prior to the pandemic. And of course, any projects that we do designate under capital improvements, we're going to have to justify a written report as to why we're doing it. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And I'm not covering all of these because these didn't change much, only those that are in the red. So I did want to cover behavioral health care because as we're doing these community meetings, one of the constants has been mental health and behavioral health care. That has been a constant in most of the findings that we're doing, and I'm going to discuss that here towards the end about where we're at with these community participation meetings. But this just kind of gives you an idea of some of the eligible activities that the county could use these funds under mental health behavior. Next slide. This talks about households that are impacted and of course, how we look at those. They were either impacted by unemployment or they've experienced what we call food and housing insecurities, Medicaid or programs where they need medical assistance or housing. So these are also things that have impacted our community that the commissioners could certainly look at addressing and creating programs on how we would address that assistance. Next. You could do food assistance, food banks, emergency housing assistance vouchers. You could cover part of a medical expense for them. You could do benefits for surviving family members who died from COVID-19. I did mention that there is a funeral assistance program through FEMA that I encourage the community to look into, or certainly, talk to me or the commissioners and see how we can help them reach out for those funds.
And those funds, Yolanda, can only be used if they didn't have life insurance.
Exactly. So
They have what?
Life insurance.
if they didn't have life insurance, then they would get reimbursed for those
And
expenses.
even now, like, if they're already very.
You could provide assistance for someone applying for benefits or services, childcare, and early learning. These are just some of the negative economic impacts that we've seen in our community. These are examples of the types of services you could offer. And I read this to y'all so that y'all can start thinking about it, so that when we do produce the final findings, you already have some ideas of some of the projects that you might want to consider. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Here we talk about the negative economic impacts to small businesses. Those that were impacted through revenue or gross receipt loss, financial insecurity. They had additional costs because they had to reprogram their businesses to address the pandemic. Capacity to weather financial hardship. You see some businesses that were closing because they couldn't, they just couldn't weather that financial hardship with the pandemic. These challenges covering payroll. This is how the small businesses have been impacted. You could certainly look at programs to address that. Next slide.
Yolanda, can we have a copy of this?
Absolutely.
So that we can look at it slower.
Yes, ma'am. Some of the eligible services that you could provide, of course, would be loans or grants to mitigate the financial hardship. For example, you could do something that would support their payroll or their insurance benefits, costs to help retain those employees. For those that are suffering, they can't keep their employees, you could provide something that would mitigate those, help them with mortgage, rent, utility, or other operating costs. These are the small businesses. Technical assistance, you could provide counseling or other services for business planning. And then you could also do.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is there anything for like nonprofits?
Yes, sir.
There is?
Yes, sir. I'm going to cover that next.
Okay, good.
Yes, we'll talk about nonprofits. So you could provide eligible uses to support those businesses that are disproportionately impacted. And we're talking about those that fall within certain census areas, those are considered disproportionately. And you could provide rehabilitation of commercial properties, storefront improvement and facade improvements, technical assistance, business incubators, and grants for startup or expansion costs for small businesses. Or you could support what we call micro businesses, including financial, childcare, and transportation costs. This is for those businesses that are in areas that have been disproportionately impacted. So that would be the key word there. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And these are your public safety, public health, and human services staff, police officers, sheriffs, deputy sheriffs, firefighters, emergency medical responders, correctional and detention officers, dispatchers and supervisors, personnel that work directly for public safety. Then you have your public health staff that also would be eligible. And then we have your human service staff. And those are employees that provide or administering social services or public benefits or child welfare services. So for example, if we had, I know there's been some discussion about having the county having an employee that would go to the different precincts and help when we have like these pandemic, where there's services that they could apply for example, the FEMA, the rental assistance, you would have an individual that would help them apply for those benefits and assist them. Then that would be an eligible service under the human services staff. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. And this is the capital expenditures we were talking about earlier. And those counties that want to consider doing capital expenditures, now pretty much it's been open to, you don't have to justify that capital expenditure. You just have to provide a written report as to why we need to do a capital improvement project. Next slide. And that just kind of identifies when we submit a report and when we don't, if we're going to do a capital improvement. If it's less than 1 million, we don't have to provide a written justification for it. If it's going to be more than 1 million, but less than 10, we would have to do a little write-up about why the county needs to submit it. And that's part of the reporting requirements that I would be doing. Next slide, please. Oh, here's some eligible examples of some of those capital improvement projects. Schools, childcare facilities, medical facilities that are generally dedicated to COVID-19 treatments, temporary medical facilities, if we wanted to set up some kind of, temporary area where we could get these testings and vaccinations done. Those are eligible costs. Emergency operations centers, behavioral health facilities, affordable housing and permanent supportive housing. Those are eligible. Clinics, hospitals, and then of course improvements to vacant and abandoned properties are also eligible. So if you wanted to put aside some monies to address some of the health hazard conditions that are in our vacant and abandoned properties, you could certainly consider that. Construction of some of the ineligible, of course, is they don't want you to start a new correctional facility or a new congregate facility or construction of convention centers, stadiums, or other larger projects. They don't recommend that. Next slide, please. This is the premium pay. It's still, you can do it retroactive, and it's provided to eligible workers that are performing what we call the essential services, but they've expanded that definition of essential services. Next slide. And next slide. And here's the water and sewer infrastructure that we talked about that includes now. So now under the new features for the final rule, the new eligible water and sewer projects are aligned with those that are, of course, under our EPA Clean Water State Revolving Fund and the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. Originally, only projects that fell under those categories. Now they've expanded that to include the additional eligible projects, which are the broader set of lead remediation projects, such as facets, fixtures, and internal plumbing in school and childcare facilities. So if we found that we had lead, we could certainly use the monies to address those. Culverts, residential wells, and certain dams and reservoirs. So residential wells is if you wanted a project where you could set aside some monies to provide some of your disproportionate communities that needed wells, you could certainly set aside some funds to provide for residential wells. And then, of course, now we can use these funds for dams and reservoirs. Any questions on the new features that have been changed in the final rules here?
Perfect. It's just broader and it's more
Yeah, it's more flexible.
flexible, yes.
Okay, next slide. I think we should be coming up to, okay, so under the culvert, we have culvert repairs, resizing and removal and replacement of storm sewers, and additional types of storm sewer infrastructures. We could also use the funds to improve access to safe drinking water for individuals that are served by residential wells, including testing initiatives and treatment and remediation strategies to address those contaminations. And then, of course, under the dam and reservoir rehab, if the primary purpose of the dam or reservoir is for drinking water supply, and the project is necessary for drinking water, it's an eligible use now.
Great.
So I think those were really the key things. Let's see if we can find the one for the nonprofits, but was there a specific, next slide, please. And then, of course, there's the broadband rules. They've included now more, it's been more flexible to be used for software and other things like that as well.
But I know that we could use this money for that, but there's other monies, right? for
Yes,
broadband?
yes, and that has not changed. Again, the American Rescue Plan has also provided other state agencies with funding, and there are some funds available specifically for broadband, and I'm currently looking at that funding for the
Funding
county.
the grants, the submission from those agencies that are gonna provide additional monies that we already have to what we already have.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't have to use-
Right.
Yeah, so
This particular money.
remember how the county commissioners, you all, in addition to going out and asking for the community participation, you also directed to look for other ways so that we could leverage
That was the idea, yeah.
we want to leverage our funds so that we don't just put all our eggs in one
I
basket.
want to make that clear that if we hadn't waited, like other entities jumped ahead and made some already commitments on other projects,
Yes,
this
sir.
opens it up. And of
For
course, they've
additional-
already committed
yeah.
other projects.
Yes.
And that's why it's
Yeah.
good to wait for this.
And
final
you all
rule.
are going to have a lot of choices, and the fact that you all decided to go out for talking with other, in your precincts with your constituents, the final rule has made a lot of other changes now that
Right.
you all can consider when we come back and we strategize exactly how you're going to allocate your monies. And we're going to provide, my job is to provide you all with all the types of programs that are eligible and the findings from your constituents. So that's going to be coming up. I'm going to touch that at the very end of where we're at with that. Next slide, please. Okay, we talked about the broadband and how there's some additional things that are now eligible, which is your software and extending your broadband services here. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I think I missed that part about the nonprofits, Commissioner. I didn't want to go, there was like 30-something plus slides. I didn't want to cover all of them. I just
There is
wanted to.
something available, right?
But they are eligible to apply. So what we could do is if there was a particular service that we wanted to partner with, let's say, for example, a nonprofit agency, we could certainly provide funding to those nonprofits for that particular service.
Okay.
So if we wanted, if you had a service in mind in your precinct or, Commissioner, the other commissioners, if you have a service that you'd like that we could partner with a nonprofit that's doing that, we could certainly, or because they provide other types of human services, we could set aside funds, or we could, what we call pass through, give those,
So I
provide
wonder
those
now with
funds.
all these changes that came about, should we go back and hold another meeting and let everybody know maybe there'd be a little bit of changes on the.
Well, these changes are more broader for some of the things that were on on your list as we're finding them. The nonprofits was already there.
Right.
That one didn't change at all. So during the time when we meet to go over the findings from your constituents in their community participation, I will also show you what types of projects are eligible and what types of funding sources you could use in addition to ARPA, or if you didn't want to use your ARPA funds, we could certainly go out. So that'll help you, give you more information to make an informed decision on how you want to spend these ARPA funds. So, and then finally, just to complete the presentation, I want to talk a little bit about where we're at with our community participation meetings. We have finished all the community participations where you all recall we were holding meetings with the community and asking them to identify what projects they felt was needed in their community. We have Commissioner Huicho Gonzalez, who's getting ready to schedule one, March the 9th in Palito Blanco and Benbolt. And then we have Commissioner Ventura Garcia. He's getting ready to hold one this Thursday. That will be held at the Investar Bank. And we will be putting that on our website. We will also send some notice letters. We will post them in the different restaurants. And we also have it on the Facebook page. So we're asking the commissioners and the stakeholders. Remember, we have stakeholders in each of these precincts that have been in a part of the community participation. So February 17th is Commissioner Ventura Garcia's community participation meeting. And we ask that all of you invite other people to come if they didn't get to make some of the other meetings. We have, judges also has stakeholders that have been working very closely with Judge Rodriguez, and they will be there as well. So we've got those. We did meet with precinct 3. And we met with the stakeholders last week. We've identified their needs already. We went over them and they narrowed it down to 2 projects. And they've asked me to work with, to get project estimates for them so that we
You've done
will
a great
present
job.
those cost estimates to you all. And that's will be the same with you all.
You've done a
Once
great
we
job,
identify
Yolanda.
these, we're going to get some cost estimates also so that you can have informed decisions.
Using our time wisely, and it's gonna be a good thing for the constituents to participate and get those projects done that need to be addressed. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Any questions? That is,
Yes.
anyone? Any
I'm
questions?
sure it is nice to know that it's broadened, it's more eligible projects, and it's a good thing to consider.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's a lot of information.
Yes, but it's good.
That's
I know,
why we
it's-
need
Yeah, make sure you send that to us.
we need the, yeah.
I will.
The
so we can
eligible,
Look at it slow.
that'd be great. Thank you
Yes, sir.
very much. I'm gonna go right now to, let's see here.
Bills.
I'm sorry.
No,
forgot to
all right,
mention
not
one more
bills.
thing.
I'm going to do something else.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I forgot to mention, so we've already finishing up the meetings. The next step now is I will be getting with you so that we can meet with the department, the different department
Department heads,
heads and identify their needs. So I will be drafting up a letter to the department heads along with a form where they will use to identify what some of their needs are. But I will be meeting with each of the departments.
Very good. Ma'am, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Moran.
I want to go back to agenda item number 16. Constable Albert Martinez, just for the record, submitted his report for the racial profiling report. And he submitted it, and we have that on the record here for anybody's, we'll submit that and take that in. If he was not able to make it, he's out on calls. So just for the record, that we submitted that report in that manner. And so now we're going to go to agenda item number 22, discuss, consider, and take action on payroll and bills submitted by county auditor with exemption of Fund 52, 53, and 54.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have
Thank you all.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Right
you.
now, I have we have a person that would like to come up before the Commissioners Court to speak before the Commissioners Court. Sir, if you just state your name.
I'm sorry, I'm Pete Crisp. I live here in Alice at 1611 Morningside. I'm sorry I'm running late today, but I just wanted to give the Commissioners Court in the county and the constituents an update on the senior citizen living, the senior citizen center that we're building in Orange Grove through the Foundation Pebble with Ripples. This was the facility that we built in the middle of town, but had planned to lease it to the county. However, once we started getting to the taxing portion of it, about ad valorem taxes and so forth, if we leased it to the county, it would cost us $20-something thousand a year. And that's just something that we couldn't afford. So we're gonna do the same thing with it. We're just going a different route. We are going to be signing a contract with Community Action. It will be a contract for use for certain portions of the day instead of turning over the whole facility. This contract will allow for us to continue to stay a nonprofit organization in that building. And We don't necessarily take this as a hindrance or anything. What we're looking at is that we may have stumbled a little bit here when we tried to get, let me explain what happened. We are a nonprofit organization. We filed it through the tax office as a nonprofit organization. They said, okay, you're tax exempt for the property. As soon as we sign a lease and somebody else becomes responsible for it, the facility no longer is our organization, our facility, and therefore would be taxed, and we are responsible for those taxes. You know, we already built a $750,000 facility, and for us to spend another $20-something thousand a year for the next 20 years, we can't afford another $500,000. So by signing it to community action as a contract, they are only taking control of the facility for certain periods of time, same as VFW and all these other places, and we'll be able to do it and keep our tax exempt status. So we'll be able to do the same thing for the community that we had planned, but we feel that we're going to be able to do more because by us retaining the facility, now we can use it for for veterans, mental health. We're going to use it. We're going to try to utilize it for the Boy Scouts. We have a lot of opportunity for other nonprofits to be able to utilize this place in the evenings, and we're going to take advantage of that. But we did not want the county or anybody here to feel like we stepped away from what we had promised. $500,000 is something we couldn't afford to do any more of. So we had to look at the best way to serve the community as a whole moving forward, and that is to go straight through community action in the form of a contract. But we were going to be able to help a lot more people, and that's really, I just wanted to give you the update so that there was no surprises when we kept saying, we're going to be giving this to the county, giving this to the county. We really couldn't do it when everything was said and done. So we're still going to serve the community. We're just looking at it as an opportunity to do it in a different direction. So look for us over there for some bigger things. Like I said, we're going to be doing mental health counseling out of there because we already started a veterans archery club there. We also are going to be doing, like I said, youth, and we're hoping to partner up with some of these other nonprofits to do fundraisers and things like that, not only for our company, our nonprofit organization, but for the other nonprofits that can really utilize the space. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
What's the name of the nonprofit organization?
Pebble with Ripples. Pebble is singular, Ripples is plural. Pebble with Ripples. Yes, we have been classified that for a little over a year and a half, 2 years now. We've been working on the facility for over 2 years. We had little hiccups getting sewage and water, and then of course the pandemic with materials ran us through the roof. What should have been a $500,000 project cost us quite a bit more. So, but we're still finishing up right now the driveway, but we're hoping to have them in there by March. So our parking lot, not driveway, parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion on the floor to adjourn this meeting. Do we have a second?
A second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank